All right, so the meeting is recording. This is for actually both of the field experience groups. So some of you guys are from cohort VMED01 and some are from O2. But both of you guys said that this time worked for you, and since you're both in the same place in field experience, we can just join together at the same time because the topics are still relevant to everybody the same. So the first thing I just want to touch base on is the forms that there were probably about 742 emails last semester about your MOUs or your ALNet form, or the ALNet form wasn't received or wasn't working, a whole lot of things. So it's a lot of back and forth with you guys on that. And so the update from Dr. Miller on that is that it's still a work in progress. She is trying to work with campus IT to figure out a way so that our emails from William Woods are not getting blocked by school firewalls. That being said, it's pretty common, unfortunately, so we just have to figure out a way to get that information to you. So I think what they're planning on doing is for anyone that so MOUs are different. The MOU is in your syllabus, in the appendix, and I think 99% of you, I have it. You only have to turn it in one time. So I will touch base with you directly. If I don't have it from you, I'll send you an email this week. So that is fine. It's a hard copy resource in your syllabus. The issue has been this ALNet form where you guys go into ALNet, click on a few, like to send a survey, send a form, fill out the information. You guys are doing that, but the form then is not getting from the campus to your on-site supervisors. So again, I will touch base with any of you who I do not have confirmation that we have received your supervisor's response to that form. And then the coordinator on main campus is going to essentially just send me an email, whether it's going to be a link or whatever. She's going to send it to me so that I can just send it to you so that you can give it to your supervisor. Right now, that's going to be the best way that we're going to be able to tackle it until IT can figure out a way to hopefully not get stuck in the spam, or even sometimes we're not even getting into the spam. Sometimes we just like are lost somewhere in the mix. So you will get an email from me either way by the end of this week to tell you that I have everything and you're good. Even if I've already told you that last semester, I just want to make sure if I have everything and I'm good, if I'm missing anything and what it is, and then just kind of what we're going to be able to do to make sure that we get that. So forms, don't stress about it. It's not, we don't even really have to turn them in until the end of your third semester. So don't, like if you're worried about checking that box, don't stress about it. We'll get it taken care of eventually. Any questions about the MOU or that ALNet form? Okay. All right, the next thing is talking about your field experience progress. So I know that, as I said, we have a wide variety of, some of you had well over 100 hours, and some of you might have had 30, 40, 50 hours. It just really depended on the situations that you guys were in. And so any one of those, wherever you are in that range is perfectly fine. We just need to make sure that by the end of the 3 terms that you have your 300 hours. So a couple of things that I just want to open up the floor, and everybody's muted, but you can unmute if you want to share anything to add. Some of the things that we ran into, probably the most common on your contact logs, the supervision was an area that there was a lot of conversation back and forth about. So I want to at least open up the floor to see if anybody had hours that they were able to add that kind of came up as like, hey, maybe someone else could do this. Like if you're struggling to find hours in a certain domain that maybe it's something that someone else might be able to do that they haven't thought of. But just kind of really quick as a reminder that you have a minimum number of hours per domain that you need to meet. And then within that, you're not able to do any more than 10 hours on a specific activity. And again, really the only time that this, or the most common way that this has come up, has been through supervision in that managerial leadership domain. And it's come up because, so I might be supervising student arrival or student dismissal, and I have 10 hours of that. And then I might be supervising lunch, and then I might be supervising a sporting event. Oh, hold on, there's somebody else trying to come in. So even though all three of those are supervising in different places, it's all still the same activity. You're still supervising. And so there isn't a difference in your task other than little bits of differences in what you have to do when you're supervising. So even if you're supervising in different areas or activities or events, if you are just supervising and there isn't anything else involved in that, then it's 10 hours, however you want to divide it up. So if you have 10 hours at basketball, then you can leave it 10 hours. If you want to do 2 hours basketball, 2 hours of arrival, 2 hours at lunch, whatever it might be, then that's fine. But it just can't be more than 10 hours. And I know that's kind of a pain because supervision is kind of low-hanging fruit. It's what we're able to do the easiest. But we need to make sure that as we get further into this, that we don't have more than 10 hours of that. Questions about supervision? Okay, the next thing I want to do, thinking about hours as we get ready to go into this next term, this next semester, in your syllabus, which if you don't have it, that's fine, but just as a reminder, starting on page 22, there is, it starts a list of suggested activities, and there's a couple pages of them. So again, if you're having trouble thinking of things that you can do this term, page 22 through 25 has a list of ideas that you can do. So anybody want to shout out anything if you had anything as visionary leadership? So some examples of that might be like on a district improvement team, or like school improvement team, goal setting, kind of that kind of big picture vision work. Did anybody have any opportunity to do any of that or have ideas or questions if something would fall in that category?
I'm not sure if mine was what it was supposed to be, but I got 2 hours in for collaborating with my grade level team on like goals and decisions and scheduling. I feel like there was, and then I have working on prioritizing, working on standards with the grade level for ELAs, like our power standards. I only have an hour of that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if those are supposed to be for visionary. Like I put them in there, so I must have thought at one point it was. Right. Are those something that work?
So it really will just depend on what the work was when you were doing that. So I think visionary is kind of more school level. So if you were doing that with a school building improvement plan or a district improvement plan or a curriculum plan, just email me and we can kind of look at and see what that might be. But it may also be more likely to be an instructional leadership role, because if you're helping a grade level specifically choose goals for them, then that's going to probably be more instructional. But email me and we can kind of figure out where it might fall.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, you can continue and I'll talk after.
I was just going to say that's along the lines of what you would be putting for visionary, but it would be more school or district wide.
Cool. Mine was, I did the HIP program for my visionary, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I worked with assistant principal, principals, counselor, resource team to create a program for individual students who are not thriving in a classroom or failing. So we go through our entire list of our school, see whose grades are not succeeding, and then we correct their behavior through interventions. Kind of sad because I've had like 40 hours within that, so I wish I could use it all. But I think that meets the visionary. I think.
Yeah, I would think so. And so where you can kind of find some flexibility in that is maybe in the creation part of that, you can pull 10 of those 40 hours out as you're working with across different levels of leadership to create the team. That's really creating your school-wide new program. And then depending on how deep you're getting into that, if you're working also on the instructional curriculum part of it, you might be able to pull a few of those hours out of that 40 to move into instructional. So that's also something to keep in mind. If you're doing something that's like a large task, you're creating a task force or you're reviewing something, the same activity, and I know this sounds like it's going to conflict with supervision, but the same activity can count in multiple domains as like if you're doing different things within that. So you can't say that you're doing data teams and visionary and instructional, but if you're creating this intervention program, that could be visionary. And then as you're looking week to week at your data and your students and your information, you're still working in this new program, but you're doing a different activity, and that could go under instructional. Does that make sense?
That was going to be my question on PBIS.
Yeah, that was my question as well, because like it's such a broad horizon of that group, so it's good, or at least I'm glad that we can break it down into categories. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also something remind me when we talk about your performance assessment, that is something that would be perfect for that.
So just to clarify with that, so if I'm a district equity champion, and we met for like 20 hours so far this year, just planning our collective vision for what those trainings would have looked like. So I can use 10 of those hours to say it's visionary. And then I can also double dip with that and say that there's we did 5 of those hours to actually talk about instructional components related to it. I could say that's instructional leadership as well.
Right.
Even
So
though it was just 10 hours, I could use it for like 15 total.
Right. So depending on the content of how you're going to break down the hours, it could fall in multiple domains. So as you work, as this committee moves moves out of the planning and more into the implementation, you might have now more, relational leadership. Some might fall into that domain, or innovative leadership even. So yeah, just be thinking about as you guys are going. It got really dark outside and it's like I'm in a cave in here. Hold on. There we go. So as you're doing different activities, just think about how it can vary the pieces that you're doing within an activity if it can apply to different places.
I had a quick question going back to the visionary leadership. I'm in the process of working through some things with my principal, and we're testing out a new hall pass system where we're moving to a digital hall pass, and I'm the one kind of working with him and rolling that out and testing it with our grade level. I don't know if that really goes into the whole facilitating student handbook review and revision, because we're changing the tardy policy with it and kind of doing a test run. I don't know if that really fits or not.
I'm looking really quick at innovative leadership to see if it might also fit there. No, if you look, Jason, at page 25, number 15, it says use of technology in teaching, learning, and administration. So you might be able to use some in your visionary if you're kind of looking at revising systems, but then also your innovative, it might fit more there because that's something that's not very common and you're using technology to improve your system.
Okay.
All right, so I want to make sure that I honor your guys' time. make sure that you are referring to these pages in your syllabus when you're thinking about your activities as you're going along. And we're gonna schedule another check-in at 8 weeks and another check-in, I think I said at 14 weeks. So that we can just check on these things and make sure that we're doing okay. I mean, everybody did a great job with what they had going on. The first time, really, it was just that supervision piece for some that was a little bit unbalanced, but so be mindful of that. And the next thing I want to make sure just to remember is just be mindful of where you ended that first semester. If you were short, if you were more on the 75 or fewer hours, it's not that by the kind of the same. It's not that by the end of this you have to be at 200 hours, but as close as you can be to that is ideal, so that you're not having to do, 250 hours in that third term.
I need you to sit down and be quiet, please. Do you want to watch Mandalorian?
So, all right, the next thing I want to make sure, I'm going to add one little bit of information really quick. Remember that you're supposed to have like a mid-field experience check-in with your on-site supervisor. So we'll talk about it again when we get into the midpoint meeting around 8 weeks here. But just know that that's something that needs to be on your radar. So if your on-site supervisor is kind of difficult to get a hold of, just make sure that you are thinking about setting up a time to meet and check in and get kind of like a informal feedback review from them on how things are going.
Can we count that as part of our hours?
Yes, I think so. Because you're probably checking in, ideally you're working with your on-site supervisor on some of these projects that are taking up your hours. So you're discussing that and reviewing that, and yeah, I think so. Good question. All right, the last thing that I want to share with you is we talked a little bit in our very first meeting at the beginning of the first semester about your performance assessment that you'll be doing at the end of your program and at the end of your field experience. And one of the things we talked about was that this has to be based on an instructional issue, like something that's not working instructionally. It cannot be something like attendance or behavior or things like that. So ideally, this second term of field experience is going to take up a lot of that work. You're going to be doing something to improve instructional systems in your building or in your district, and you'll be able to count hours for that, but it will also go towards your performance assessment when you get there at the end of your program. And so a couple things to just think about. I'm going to see if I can share. Let me see. Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to do. All right, let me see if I can get to this. All right, are you guys able to see the MPEA document that I have shared? Yep, okay. So just as a reminder, let me make this a little bit bigger. So you have to have an issue that focuses on instruction. So it could be a gap in your assessment scores. It could be a gap in achievement for students in a particular classroom or grade level. It could be, a curriculum thing that you need to work on. It can involve student attendance and student behavior. However, your focus in that situation would need to be the loss of instruction time due to poor attendance or poor behavior. So if you're thinking about what you're going to be working on for your hours over the next semester, especially if you've already met with your on-site supervisor or as you're talking with your on-site supervisor, be thinking about or talking about what is a problem instructionally that we need to address and fix, and then you take that on in this field experience and try to problem solve. This performance assessment packet, I mean, it lays out exactly what you're going to have to do, the things you're going to have to create, faculty meetings that you'll facilitate to address the problem. So we're not going to dig into the details of the performance assessment yet. We'll do that in our week 8 meeting. But I just want you to be thinking, what is something that's going on in our district or our school that you can create basically an improvement plan to address that instructional problem and hopefully improve the achievement data that goes along with that. So I will share this with you when I send the email link with tonight's meeting information so that you can take a look at it. If you are a person that's going to kind of worry about how much is involved in this, just file your email away and then we'll address it in week 8. But I just want you to have this so you kind of can dig into it if you want to and know where you need to go. Some of the domains that you are working with now are the domains that you're going to use in this performance assessment. So as we dig deeper into this performance assessment, it's going to be very easy to choose some of these pieces. So like step 1 is focused on the visionary leader domain. So the things that you're doing for this performance assessment, so we're looking at identifying a problem area of concern related to instruction. So you're going to have to be looking big picture to find a problem that's happening. So all of that work is going to go into your visionary leadership because you're looking to create an improvement plan for a system. So just know that as we go throughout this term, some of the work you're doing for your field experience will also get you some more hours. So that will help kind of boost your hours a little bit. So when we come back in week 8, let me stop sharing this so I can see everybody. When we come back in week 8, I'm going to ask for you guys to have an idea of your topic of an instructional problem prepared. And then we'll just share them out. That way we can problem solve. And if something really isn't going to be an instructional, but it appears on the surface, we can have that conversation so that you don't get all the way through your field experience and you have these hours and it's not going to be able to count for what your performance assessment is asking. So when we get back together in week 8, we'll talk about what those topics are. And then if you don't have a topic, you have no idea what you're going to be able to do, that can also serve as, you know, ideas for things that you might be able to take to your on-site supervisor and work on. Okay, that was a lot of information in 20 minutes, but I want to make sure you have time if you need a break before you log into your 5:30. I will stay on here for anyone that wants to ask any questions. I will finish recording this once everyone has signed off, and I'll send that out to you guys by the end of the week. And then I'll also include your performance assessment information. I think that might be all that I need to have in here. And then I will also send you emails by the end of the week to let you know where you are with your paperwork. All right. And then I'll schedule a week 8 also, and then we'll check in then and we'll talk about your school improvement or your instructional issue. Okay. I will hang out here. If you guys need anything, you're welcome to stay on and I'll answer any questions. Have a good first week.